At that stage, I had 4 other brothers, so there was 5 of us altogether as a kid. And the fifth brother came when I was probably 8 years old. So probably more the first 4 before me was just kicking a footy out the front yard, plastic footy. You know, if we're lucky enough to have a leather footy, or back in those days another live bird synthetic leather football. I don't know how we got it, if we pinched it or we borrowed it from somewhere. It was always the front yard or the backyard, because we had a fairly big backyard at Elizabeth there. So they're sort of the first sort of memories when you come across playing football. And I suppose then it was when I was 6 years old, I got a chance to play for Elizabeth Football Club in the under-9. So I had to wait, a good 3 or 4 years before I processed to the next level. So under-9, 6-year-old kid sitting in the forward pocket, kicking the dew off the grass, rainy as hell and everything else. So that's probably the memories which I always have. Well, we were a very sporty family. Other 5 brothers all played footy. My sisters all played netball or basketball and things like that. But we just love sport, and I think that's the only thing that we had as kids growing up out at Elizabeth. 9 of us living in this housing trust home. Mum and Dad, Dad worked all the time, so it was something that I just loved to do and get outside and kick the footy around. Probably going all through my junior years at Elizabeth Football Club, I was lucky enough to play in a couple of premierships and win a few best and fairest. So and I played in some association games. So I knew I was an okay player, and I loved playing the game. Probably when I left Elizabeth at the age of 15 and went to Central Districts in the under-17s back in 1978, and I think then was the time that I really wanted to play football. I was, I didn't like school. I wasn't going to be a lawyer or a policeman or anything like that. I just wanted to play football. So at that stage then, leaving school at 15, going to Centrals at 15 years old, and then going out and playing underage at Centrals. Really probably the first time that I thought that I might have a chance of going on and kicking goals. I didn't feel that I couldn't play the game. I didn't feel that I was in the wrong game itself. Being a small bloke, I played basketball. I went to America when I was 15 to play basketball, like a little kid like me playing basketball, against these big colleges over in America. So no, everything I did in sport and life, weight, size, age, did not come across my mind at one bit. Yes, it was it was quite funny because I had a meeting with Daryl Hicks, our coach, just in the year of 1980, at the end of 1980, and I just played in under-17s, and halfway through 1980, we played in the Till Cup, in under-17s Till Cup. So I played the first half of the season under-17s, played Till Cup in July, and then I came back after winning the best and fairest for South Australia, made All-Australian in under-17s, so I went straight to the under-19s. At the end of 1980, I remember speaking to Daryl Hicks, and he says, "Look, John, you've had a great year. You probably come out and train with the senior side next year in 1981. You'll probably start in the under-19s, but if you play well there, we'll get you playing reserves football in 81, and then if you're good enough, we might play in the league." I said, "Darryl, that'd be fantastic. I will look forward to it. I'll have a good pre-season. I'll get myself super fit and ready to go." So it only took the second game in 1981 to play league football. So that was the story of it. And the phone call on the Thursday night before my first game was round 2, 1981. We played against North Adelaide at Elizabeth. And the week before, a couple of the smaller blokes, I think Lindsay Rushak, Chris McClay got injured. Mark Nosworthy had to go to Perth for work. So the third or fourth small kid coming up, and I just finished kicking 7 goals in the reserves a week before, it was a rat. So Daryl Hicks rang me on the Thursday night. I answered the phone, and Daryl said that, John, you're playing your first league game this week, and it was great. It was a great memory. Oh, I think I did okay. My first kick was a point. You know, the great story about your first kick, you mark it and you kick a goal, but unfortunately I took a mark on the half forward flank and missed. So, oh look, yeah, first game I was probably a bit weary these days, but it was just so excited to play your first league game, 1981. Oh God, my teammates then were blokes like Stephen Trigg, Peter Bything, Dean Mobbs was a captain, Peter Vivian, Billy Cochran, Richard Cochran, not Richard, sorry, just Billy Cochran. Mark Norsworthy went. So a talented group of players comes through. Peter Krieg, Dal Hart, you know, all those young guys who I played in the juniors with at Central. So Jeff Gillies, you know, just a handful of blokes I can remember back there, but there were many, many more. I suppose it doesn't sort of hit you and start, you know, until you start to establish yourself in the game itself, and the players who become your teammates, who you train week in and week out, cold weather, hot weather. You bleed for your players when you're out there. You get whacked around, and then it probably at the start you might think, oh, this is fun, we're having a good time. But at the end of the day, by the time I left 5 years later, I just really just wanted to win a premiership. And at the end of it all, I was lucky enough to win a few with Hawthorn. But the thing which grunts me a lot is that I've never won a premiership as a player at Central Districts. Oh, for sure. You know, 84, I think we finished up third spot. And we had to play Norwood and Glenelg in the finals, and we lost both of those finals, and which was so disappointing because Norwood came from fifth spot to win it. You know, we finished third. You know, fantastic Norwood to do it, but I think we had a great opportunity back in 1984 to take off the premiership then. 79, I was still playing under 17s, under 19s back there. That we made it to minor premiers, but I wasn't playing league. I was playing in the juniors. So that was another big year, which they probably should have went on to win a premiership. But in my time, 81 to 85, 84 should have been probably the one that we probably maybe should have won the grand final. But when you're in it, you don't know what happens after that. It was, you know, sad that Darryl Hicks left at the end of 83, and then Cowboy Neil come along and coached us. And, you know, in that era there, they were two great coaches in the sense of Darryl was great because he knew the game, you know, the skill level which Darryl wanted to bring to the culture of the club back those days was enormous. And then when Cowboy come in 84, he brought that toughness to the guys who've been under Darryl for 3 or 4 years, and now the toughness comes into it. And I suppose that in 84 it joined together. We had great skills. We got great guys having great footy careers. You know, some of those younger kids who came through, Mark Pittman, Stephen Connolly, Stephen Trigg, Jeff Robinson, Pat Swert, Darryl Hart, and all these types of blokes who were under Darryl for 3 or 4 years as a coach in the early 80s, and then to come in against Cowboy Neil, who bring that toughness in as well. So it was a great mixture, and as I said, you know, 84 was a year that we should have won it. I was lucky enough to win the Magarey Medal, yes, and you know, you don't go into games knowing that you're going to win it, but you know, I was just so passionate about playing football, and I set a high standard for myself, and I always wanted to play that level. One thing I've always said, and someone always said to me, you never play 2 bad games in a row, and I sort of had that in the back of my mind all the time, that I never wanted to play 2 bad games in a row. And I'm pretty lucky enough to say that I was that I probably achieved a lot of that. Yeah. Yes, I do. We went down there, the old line, downstairs in the I know you call it the dungeon or something they called it. It was all blokes, and I was sitting around the table. I remember Chris Grant and myself, and who else was there? Peter Bything, a few other blokes, and I remember those sort of days. And one of the highlights I saw of the video going back, it was, I think Chris Grant was smoking, like he was smoking in the room, and you sort of think that it doesn't happen anymore. But it was just a group of players. Wilbur Wilson was there, which was great, and I won it, and it was celebrations. It was an enormous night for us. Yeah, Australian best and fairest at Centrals, our second year in a row. I did have a niggling injury. I had a groin problem, and I remember that year was so frustrating. I think we finished 5th, I think, and we lost our first final. And halfway during the year, I had to sort of only train once a week because I had a bad groin. And at the end of that year, I finished up getting it operated on. But at the end of it all, all the good stuff we did in '84, we didn't follow it through to '85. So. And then '85, it was time for me to go, and I tried my best at the Doggies and had a good time. Unfortunately, we didn't win a premiership, but then things went pretty good at Hawthorn days. You could sense by a lot of that guys who I played Teal Cup with in 1980, Kernahan, the Bradleys and Motleys, Danny Hughes, a group of those players. We all sort of said in the back of my mind, yes, we want to stay with our club. There was no point us moving over there quickly, or we all wanted to play state football. We all wanted to play 100 games for our club. We wanted to win a premiership. 2 out of 3 wasn't bad for me, and it was probably pretty much time for me to move on. And you can ask those guys I just mentioned the same question. It was time for them to move on. They were far and above the rest of the guys in a sense of their talent and that. And the next level for all of us was to go in and play in the big league. Everybody. Look, I was fortunate enough at the end of '81, my first year. I had people after me when I was in the Teal Cup in 1980, and Hawthorn were the club which actually were after my services straight away, and they were good enough. I signed a contract at the end of 1981 to where I couldn't go to any other club for 3 years, and at that stage, I was just turned 18. So I wanted to, as I said, wanted to play 100 games for Centrals. I wanted to play state football, and that opportunity came up as I grew up with Centrals. And then in 1984, Carlton found out that I was a Carlton supporter, which I was, big Carlton supporter, knowing that I signed with Hawthorn. 3 years later, that contract elapsed from Hawthorn, and then Carlton came over and they signed like Kernahan, Bradley and Motley, and also myself. And then, look, it was a good thing or bad thing. I played at Centrals for 1 more year, and then I had to make a decision to go to Hawthorn or Carlton at the end of '85. And look, Carlton were a great side. I'm sure I would have done exactly the same that Carlton would have done at Hawthorn. But I suppose what tipped me over was the Hawthorn were a great family club. I come a big family of 9, and Hawthorn had a lot to do with me in that 5 years at Centrals and my family, and treated me really well. Allan Jeans was a great fella, and to get coached by Allan Jeans is something that a lot of blokes don't have the privilege to do. And Lee Matthews was just retiring at the end of '85. Hawthorn had just played in the last 3 grand finals, won '83, lost '84, and lost '85. And there was a group of those guys, older fellas from Hawthorn, sort of ready to retire, which they did, and Lee Matthews was one. And I just thought that the opportunities at Hawthorn were probably more greater for a little bloke myself to play as a rover at Hawthorn at that stage was probably greater than going to Carlton as well. But Hawthorn was fantastic. The great family club, and the feedback I got from the players and that, it was great. It was fantastic. I wanted to play for Central Districts. I wanted to win a premiership. I wanted to play state footy. I wanted to go over and play in the VFL and play for Carlton, but I finished up playing with Hawthorn. That were my goals, and I just had that in the back of my mind. And to get there, I just had to work for it, and which I did. I think it was more the bigger bodies. Like I was 5'5", whatever, weighing 61 kilos, and so it was more the bigger bodies. I knew that. There is bigger bodies when you play state football. The level of football, the skill level jumped up, 5, 10, 20%. So that was the biggest thing which I had to do, and I was prepared to do that. I loved training. I was a good trainer. I was always fit. I could run pretty well. I had good speed. I had some good skills as well. Just getting better was, for me, I had to get better and better and better. I wasn't satisfied where I was. I just needed to get better. No, I was working in between. The times at Centrals, I had a job at Parabag Sports Store, and for about 3 or 4 years, and then I finished up going to Hawthorn, and then I was tied up in a sports store in Melbourne, and then I worked in transport with TNT, and then in 1989 I went out and bought a hotel in Carlton called the Prince Alfred Hotel in Carlton, right across the road from the Melbourne Uni. So that was my day-to-day thing, the usual thing. You get up, whatever, go to work, go to training, go to bed. You did that for 12 years in Melbourne, and that's what it was. Oh, amazing group of fellas. They've just played in the last three grand finals to win one premiership. The blokes outstanding: Michael Tuck, Gary Ayres, Jason Dunstall, Dermot Burton, Dipper, Richard Loveridge, John Kennedy, Peter Swab, Ray Jenke, Chris Mew, enormous blokes. They were, and the thing with Hawthorn back in those days, there was a group of fellas who we loved dearly, and they were the crowd favourites, Dermot and Dipper and Dunstall, these types of blokes. But the good thing about Hawthorn, and I always want to tell people, it just wasn't those blokes who were the flamboyance of the game. There was the other blokes who finished up playing, Dean Anderson, Anthony Condon, Darren Pritchard, Andy Collins, Ray Jenke, all these, Gary Buckenara, Peter Swap, all these other blokes who were just so important to the club back in those days. We didn't have to rely on the superstars of the game. So even though they were superstars, but they were a bit more flamboyant around the club because, Dermot drove a Ferrari at the age of 24 or something like that, and I love my cars, and to see Dermot rocking a Ferrari, I thought, how good's this? I'd love to go out and do this, and if I can get as good as him, I might be able to buy a Ferrari. But I didn't. I haven't got a Ferrari. I love one, but I wouldn't. Oh, he was an enormous person. He was just in football, he was, and also out of football. He became your second father. And when I got there, and even 3 or 4 years before I got to Hawthorn, he was so much a father figure to a lot of people. To myself, because my father died when I was only 18, and he missed me playing those days at Centrals. I think he saw 1 year, but the other years that he missed, and then to have someone who could help you, guide you in life in general, tell you about football, what you have to do to get better. He was great. It's a bloke that you could ring him up, and it wasn't a 2-minute talk. It was a good 10, 15, 20-minute talk. Not just about football, it was just life in general. And he did that. He helped out a lot of blokes out at Hawthorn, because to keep, Dunstall and Burton and Dipper and these blokes under control, he was the only bloke that could do it. Just things that he came up with, back in the 80s. He just knew every player, just the way that we played the game back. And I know it's different nowadays, but the way that the game was played back in those days, he was all over it. He's like the top coach now. If he was coaching now, he would be one of those coaches now who would have the respect from everybody, through the players, the trainers, the admin, the volunteers of the club, anywhere. The media, they just love Allan Jeans, and he said the right thing at the right time. He's kept a lot of things behind closed doors with our players, and told us, if you step out of these lines, this is what's going to happen. So, you know, I'll back you in any sort of way. If you get in trouble, I'll back you, but make sure that you respect yourself and do the right thing by other people. It's just one of those things. As I say, I'm just a little kid from Elizabeth who had all these dreams about, you know, playing with Central, which was great, and winning a premiership, and, you know, and maybe win a couple of best and fairest, which do, lucky enough to win a Magarey Medal. So, and then to head over there and into the big league, it was something which I always wanted to do. You know, it didn't matter if Hawthorn were top or bottom. That's where I wanted to play and wanted to succeed. And succeed when you win one. You know, you ask a lot of players who've won a premiership, they feel that is fantastic. It's a great feeling. You want to go back and win it again and win it again. You just feel so hungry and selfish because you want the pinnacle, and that's the pinnacle of winning a premiership. And, you know, lucky enough to win 4 of them, playing 5 and to win 4 of them. Yeah. At Hawthorn, we were a side which just we knew what we could do. You know, we would, if we were 3 or 4 goals down and there's 5 minutes to go, and we've just finished kicking a goal, so that means we're only like 2 goals behind, and there's 2 minutes to go. We knew we look into each other's eyes and say, this is what we're going to do. You know, we can win this. We can win this. You know, the bell goes and we win by another two goals. And we walk off the ground thinking, oh, you know, like, we can't do this week in and week out. We need to respect the team probably more. We need to play a bit better. And fortunate enough, when we did, we started belting sides. Yeah, and we were, as I said, I'm not trying to be big-headed, but we were awesome. You know, you don't realise how good your side was until you actually finish your footy career. And the group of guys that I played with were enormous. You know, and that's even when I'm with Central Districts, the guys that I played at Central Districts. We didn't win a premiership, but, you know, we probably should have. But they were an enormous bunch of fellas, and you know, and I'm at a stage I can go through my life now, and every guy that I played with, I love them. You know, I don't think I hate any of my players that I played with. You know, even in junior football, I don't think I hate any of those players as well. So it's just something that you shared with them, and you're gonna live your life with all the memories with them as well. Yes, it was, but I was a hungry man. I just wanted more. I wanted more success. I wanted success for the club, for the guys around you who gave you, who helped you be successful as well. And yeah, and footy's a game where it's all about your mates and the people around you, and the family, the support family and everything else. So the more that I can do to be successful makes my family happy, my teammates happy, and life's happy. Yeah. Oh, look, I was a good runner, and I think in this football, this day and age, I think you have to be a good runner. Yeah, and probably back in those days as well. You know, I had a bit of stamina, which I could, you know, run the game out quite well. I had a bit of speed as well, so which helped me. And as I said, you know, I probably got a little bit of skill level as well. And if I can put all those together and work on it and train hard at it, you just get better and better at it. So that was my theory. You know, the harder I run, the more I'm going to get the ball. The more skills I have, I'm going to deliver the ball to the bloke who's going to kick a goal, who's going to win you the game. So I know it's all cliche sort of stuff, but it's simple as that, football. You know, if you work at something for many years and you put your mind and effort into it, it all pays off. I loving it. I loved every minute of it. You know, I wish I could play now. But no, I loved it. I just, I don't know. You just had that thing about football. You want to go out and, you know, that was my happy spot. Football back on the ground. It was amazing. Yeah, I loved it. It was at times there where we had a bit of chat to each other, and there was times there, you know, we had to tackle each other, so which was great. But there was other times there where we probably didn't go in as hard as we should have when you saw your other teammate there. So one of the funny stories was I was playing it here in Adelaide and at Footy Park, and I remember there was about 3 Victorian blokes chasing me on the wing. I couldn't pick the ball up, and they grabbed me and they threw me to the ground, and and 3 of them were just all over me. And I see Dipper coming towards me, and I'm thinking, oh my God, Dipper's going to jump on me and crush me. And he ran over. He's actually pulling the Victorian blokes off, saying, boys, get off him, leave him alone. So it's all those little funny things which you come across. But at the same time, yeah, you had a bit of banter with him, which was good. At a training before, and hopefully you win the game, you go back to training, and you stand about 10 foot taller, and you only won because of this and all that. But at the end of the day, they're your mates, and we've got a lot of mates playing football on and off the ground, other teammates from other sides, and here also in South Australia. Yeah, look, it's so hard to pinpoint it where it can be played and who's playing now, because the AFL, it's a national comp, and you got two teams in Perth, in Queensland, Sydney. Now we're going to Tassie, so to try and feed out all the state of origin fellas out of Perth and Queensland and Sydney and Tassie coming up, it's always going to be a bit hard. Look, unless someone comes up with a great formula, it'll be fantastic. But and where to play it, what time, after, before, mid-season, it's always going to be pretty tough. 12 years there, 258 games. When the coach comes up to you at the end of 97, I was 34 years old, and he said, look, John, we probably need to play you more as a forward pocket player, play you on the wing. If you're not playing well, we're going to put you in the reserves. So, look, and that's his job. Don't get me wrong, that was the coach's job at that stage then. And it was at that stage, I won so much, played so many games, and probably did what I've done over there. And it was in the back of my mind was to win a premiership with Central. So and Mum was sick, so I sort of retired at the end of 95, give it one more year at Centrals in 98, and came back home. Unfortunately, I only played 6 games. I created a bone-on-bone in my left knee, so that was a bit of a trauma for me to get myself back up, and operations after operation. I was at the end of 98, only played 6 games, 35, bone-on-bone on my knee. Was nowhere else to go. It was to retire at the end of 98. Yeah. Yeah, that was very hard to watch, but very good to watch. It was probably a couple of years too early, and I finished at 98. I always say that when I came back from Hawthorn, I wanted to play at Centrals and to win a premiership. I don't know, if I didn't have my knee problems back in 98, I might have squeezed out another couple more years. I would have been 38, 39 to win the first premiership. I would have been happy with that, but unfortunately, 98 was my last year. And look, it's been fantastic. Don't get me wrong, it's to watch those guys and to win their first premiership. Just the people around Centrals, the Norm Russells, the Robert Zarellas, the Chris Grants, Allan Stewart, these types of blokes who've been around for many, many years and who had the opportunity to do it. And I just envy these blokes to win the first premiership, but I love them a bit. In a sense of a business. Firstly, I had a pub in Melbourne, so I sort of kept that for another year or so, sold that, came over here, had a couple of pubs here in Adelaide, sold them. And then there onwards, I've been lucky enough to get involved with some good people around business, and they sort of help you through a lot of things and stuff. And now we're in a very successful safety business called the Safety Hub. Very important in life to have safety, and I've been in it now for 15 years, and it's something which is just going to get bigger and better. And it's great. It's Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. Weekends off, you can watch the footy. You mix with some wonderful people in business, clients, people walk into the shop. You meet so many people, and it gives us the opportunity also to reflect on what we've done, and gives us time to spend some time with our family. Yeah, we had our time, and we got paid okay, and probably not what they're getting these days, but you live your life whatever era you're in, and I wouldn't change my mind for nothing. We had a great time. Achieved a lot, worked hard, and the blokes which are doing it now are doing exactly the same, but it's more on a full time. And if you don't love football when you're a full time player, you're going to get nowhere. So, good luck to them. They can make as much as they can, and I had my time and I enjoyed it. I've always had the view, and I was lucky enough to be an assistant coach for 12 years at Centrals in 2010, and be a part of a premiership there, but as a coach, as an assistant coach. From there, and what I see from there, look, I still feel that the SANFL is the second best, or one underneath the AFL, is to come to. It's a breeding ground. It's a vehicle for someone who can drive themselves to come here. As I said, as a kid, they invited me when I was 15 years old. That was a vehicle. It was up to me to drive it, and I wanted to drive it. And to come here, and if you just can't make the AFL, or if you get knocked off the players list, whatever, it's not the end of the world. Come back and play SANFL football, because there's that next level which is going to be good for you. You're going to learn a lot more out of it. It's the second best competition. It's run well. It's people love it. You still get media coverage. There's only 10 sides in the comp. You can play state football, and also you can make a career out of it. Oh, very much so. Yeah, you talk about great coaches. Roy was one of those blokes who, he probably brought an old-fashioned style of coaching, but also the new style which blokes were playing as well. So, and he can combine those together very, very well. And Roy was great. The relationships we had with players, with the people around the club, the administration area, people of the club. It was just Roy was just fantastic. He's crazy about football, loves football, had the mind, and in his time he was good enough even to coach a VFL AFL club. I've learned over the last probably 7 or 8 years that that concussion is serious, and we know football is a contact sport. You can't take that away from it. It's more about the player recovering. Back in our day, it was you get hit, you get knocked out, you recover over those first 2 or 3 days, and you play the following week. This day and age now, it should be more about the recovery, not the 1 week or the 2 weeks. It could be 3, 4 weeks, could be 2 months before the player plays. So if they can get that right, and I know that we all love to play, and I love to play, but at the same time, you've always got to look after the players' well-being and health by the recovery. As I said, you can't help the collisions, but you can help the bloke get a recovery properly and have a better life after football.